Tiffany Dell, they're rather more relaxing transport than the racing sidecar he tried out a couple of weeks ago. Now, if you fancy the idea of that kind of travel on the public roads, Michael Krause will build you a sidecar like this, very fashion-looking, will certainly turn a few heads in town, and because it's got a fully moulded passenger seat, far more comfortable than pounding up the motorway on the pillion, side-by-side biking, if you like. The main disadvantage, perhaps, is the cost, because it'll set you back fully £22,000, and that's the left-hand drive form only. Off you go, Simon. Another drawback, of course, is that it sacrifices the bike's ability to wriggle through traffic, one of the main reasons why it's become increasingly popular as a mount for commuters seeking to beat the city traffic jams. Chris Goff has been investigating the practicalities of commuting on two wheels.
It's 8:15 in Surbiton, Surrey, and two vehicles are about to leave for an 18-mile journey right across London to Camden. Over 1 million people make this sort of journey in London every day. I'm in my trusty Citroën diesel, and motocross champion Vic Allen will be using a motorcycle. Britain's cities already seem just about at choking point at peak travelling times, and it's estimated that by the year 2025, traffic will be up by 142%. So the big question is, are we being responsible enough in our choice of get-me-to-the-office transport? Most of us that do commute by car tend to travel alone. It's not very sociable and it's very expensive. The simple running costs of a car, not including depreciation and finance, over the 36-mile round trip would be £5.18, plus the cost of parking in London, up to £8 a day on average. By rail, the cost from Surbiton to Waterloo and then on to Camden by underground would be £6.20, and a weekly pass would be £19.70. And oh yes, if you had to park the car at Surbiton station, another £1 a day. Using London Transport from Surbiton to Camden, you'd need 3 different buses, and the cost would be the same as the train. The car gives independence, but at a price. Public transport is cheaper, but you're at the mercy of timetables, and you're often cramped and uncomfortable in the rush hour. So, are two-wheelers the answer? They certainly take up less space, they use less fuel and cut pollution, but riders can be vulnerable in heavy traffic and bikes are tricky on slippery streets. However, they do preserve the independence of their riders. This 125 machine can be ridden by learners and costs 5.7 pence per mile to run. That's a daily total of £2.10 with little or no parking charges, a saving of at least £11 a day over the running costs of a car. A £4 billion road building programme for London has recently been cut to £250 million by the government because of the belief that more roads will simply create more traffic. But if road building is now not the solution to congestion in the short term, we're left with traffic restraint, stricter parking enforcement, and giving greater priority to bus lanes. Without a massive investment in public transport, the majority of these services will simply not be able to cope with any extra commuters.
Have been set up already westbound along Victoria Embankment, but there's going to just be horrendous rush hour queues.
This is what you've got to watch for, is like good taxi drivers. We're getting towards the end of our journey here, and probably just about just over the 30-minute mark, so I think that's quite good.
Greater use of motorcycles would obviously help, but it's doubtful how many car commuters would convert to bikes. Any real growth would need to be accompanied by an expansion of training facilities.
And it's 8 minutes past 9. Met a nice lady.
And a fundamental change in attitude from other road users. Of course, one thing about congestion in London, you can park in the wrong place and then you're the victim of these people if you get it wrong. Man's best friend is no longer his dog, it's his motorcar, but the freedom that it's supposed to convey is becoming the victim of its own success. We're going to have to rethink our travel arrangements. Even on a good day, my travelling time was virtually twice that of Vic's, and that's not the recipe for a green and pleasant land.
Yeah, I've been here a good 35 minutes.
You made me, got me a coffee.
Well, I broke a habit a lifetime and bought one, but I'm afraid it's a bit cold now.
Yeah. So what happened to you? I mean, I got absolutely stuck on Hammersmith Bridge.
Yeah, well, obviously with a bike, you know, it's never stopped the whole way up, really, just apart from traffic lights and zebra crossings, really. It's only time.
Now, I mean, I can see the advantages of a bike for a trip like this. But, I mean, if it had been raining or if it had been cold, I would have been in a better position than you, even though I would have been later.
Obviously, you'd have been in a little bit better position, but the way that manufacturers have improved the clothing, one-piece suits and things like that, it's much better than it used to be.
So do you think we pay enough attention to the motorbike as a means of transport inside cities?
No, it's very sad for me being involved in motorcycling so long to realise that motorcycles has really just been ignored completely. But like our little bike we use today, 125, perfect transport for the commuter.